everyone, this is Bob Sorrentino from Italian Roots and Genealogy. Be sure to check us out on our blog and YouTube and our Facebook group, and our super advertisers, Your Dolce Vita, Italy Rooting, and Abitiva Casa. And today we have a great guest, not specific to Italian genealogy or any genealogy for that matter. We have Jim Rothgeb from Peek Into Your Past, which is a great website, whether you want to record your family history or vacation or any other thing that you've done. So welcome, Jim. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you and your audience. I think I have a tool, a resource that they will find useful, and I'd be glad to share details about that.
Absolutely. So what prompted you, creating the website? I think you're the co-creator, correct?
Yes, I am. I have been, an amateur genealogist for, oh gosh, since I was in my middle ages. So that a long time ago. And over the years, trying to make sense of what my interest exactly was with this, what drove me to continue on with it and to expand into, I sort of focused on one branch of a family, and then I realized I wanted to explore other branches, and I had several aha moments, is what I call it, when you go through it and it's something you realize that just didn't, you had no idea about, or that makes sense about something. It's just, it kept drawing me together. And then I looked back one day and I said, my understanding of these, my ancestors, the way that they are, and I guess this really came about after I made a trip to England, where a lot of my ancestry is from, and I was able to go back to 1473. And some of the baptismal fonts that some of those ancestors used, I was actually able to put my hands on, and it was just, all of a sudden things became more real. And I appreciated how it impacted the way I started to have an outlook about our family or moving forward and so forth. And it became obvious to me that it brought me closer to the past. And so we came up with this idea of developing a way where we can tell these aha moments or these stories or these important events in the ancestry, or there's no rule as to how long a story has to be. It can be an in-depth study of a subject, or it could be just a story about a particular event, something. And so we saw it bringing people together, and to us that sounds like a great goal, to bring people together in this world. And so I know that's a real big goal, but it's a little step maybe to going in that direction.
That's great. So now I'm going to take a wild guess, and your family probably came, a couple of hundred years ago, correct, to America?
Yes, that's right. Actually, in 1630 was when the first ancestor landed. And they landed in the New England area, and as so many have. But yes, it was gosh, what is that? 400 years ago almost.
Yeah, and that's the reason I asked is my children are adopted, and my daughter, her her family's going way back. Same thing. I traced her back, her lines back to England, and she's actually descendant from the Dispenser family.
Wow.
Uh, and
Wow.
I'm direct to I could trace direct to William the Conqueror.
Oh my goodness, you can.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, that certainly had an impact on British history.
Uh, yeah, and the crazy thing about it, it's through the Italian family. So
Oh, is that right? Is
yeah,
that right?
it's through my grandmother's my paternal grandmother's mother uh comes from a very noble Italian family, and they course, intermarried with the Spanish, who intermarried with the French. You know the whole story, right?
Right.
And interesting thing to find. Um, so you got back pretty far. Any, I'm going to guess that the records were pretty clear then, going back. Yeah.
Well, yes. One, I think on that same occasion that I mentioned earlier, a trip to England, I was able to actually do some research. It was, I had come prepared with some specific questions I hoped to find some direction for. And I really was not all that familiar with their record keeping system other than what I could find online, which was pretty good. But we went to a couple of these hamlets, really, that found where the records were, and people were willing to look at them and help us. And yes, they have of course, their history goes back so much farther than here in the United States, but they're used to preserving some records, and we were able to feel good about that. Some of it, of course, is still okay. This is the way it's reported, but you don't know for sure. You can't say for sure, but we're going with it. Mhm.
Yeah, I think the good thing about the the English civil records, and I think some of the German civil records, they were record keeping long before anybody else was,
Yeah,
and not just noble families, even the you know the,
right.
the the common people and everything. Where in Italy, the civil records only go back to 1809, and that's only because
Oh,
of
is that
Napoleon.
right?
Yeah, only because of Napoleon started it, actually.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
gosh.
Before that,
Well,
everything was in the church.
yeah, that's a prime resource, really, really. Well, I'm impressed that you were able to do such research on your adopted children. That sounds, that's often a challenge, it seems like, to get to that information, but I'm glad you were able to do that.
Well, in my daughter's case, there was a lot of people on Ancestry, and I was able to trace back. It was pretty simple,
Oh,
because what happened with in her case was, she always said she wanted to find her birth parents. And in Florida, the way it works is there's a registry, and when you're 18, you could check the registry, and if the birth parents registered, um, you can do a match like that. Well, her birth parents didn't register,
uh,
uh, but the kids knew from as early as they could know that they were adopted. So we got a private investigator, and he found pretty quick. He found them pretty quick. Uh,
wow.
so and they knew their history and everything like that. So it uh, wasn't it difficult. Now in Italy, uh, there were children that were adopted by American parents, and them trying to find their natural parents in Italy is very, very difficult, very, very hard. They don't because they don't put the parents' names,
Oh,
so it's very, very hard to trace.
okay.
So before we talk about the
Okay.
website, um, just another question for you. Uh, Interesting people that you found in the family?
Well, one comment that keeps coming up, you know, being I've actually had two sides of the family that have been here before the Civil War. And and there was this struggle as to this branch was Southerners and this branch was Northerners. And we would make jokes. It's nothing to joke about, but it's like, either you had pride in it or you had disgust in it, or there was all sorts of emotions that comes up with it. And then when you do enough research, you find out that no branch is pure in that. One branch will have a combination of the Confederates and the Yankees, in the same way for the other branch, and then all this this, you know, interchange that we had been going on. It's just, look, it's right here. We're all, that was, and it was just like, we're all mixed in together. It's, it's hard to kind of draw any separations in there. That was an interesting time. I realized that the family that landed in 1630 in Massachusetts, they soon took some sort of ship, not a big ship, I'm quite sure about that, over to Long Island. And that's where they ended up making their life. And I keep joking to myself that, oh my gosh, I'm going to go back and claim Long Island is right there, at the start of the island and all that. And I've seen some old pictures of homes that belonged to the family at that point. I mean, these were very old pictures. And of course, those homes aren't there anymore. But it was just like, oh gosh, I should go there and claim that. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way about some of the homes in Italy. It's because there's palazzos there. But
Yeah.
that's interesting because my ex-wife, her family also, I could trace way back when I did it, and they're from Long Island, and they owned pretty big chunks of land in Hempstead and
Oh,
Flushing. She has both English, Irish, and Dutch
oh,
going back. And in fact, her, I don't know if it's third or fourth great grandfather, sold Rikers Island, where the prison is now, to the city of New York.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, wow.
There's a lot of Quaker influence in that area.
Absolutely. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the old court, across from the old courthouse, was a Quaker meeting house. I don't know if it's still there, but it dated back to like 1750 or something. Like, it's a very old building. Um, so peek into the past
Right.
allows people to go in there and basically build their story, right? Which through, I know you could do links, you could put in your story, you could put in places. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how that all works?
Yeah, Bob, I'd like to, our vision is to bring people together. I think I've made that point earlier. And there is a writer, her name is, I have it here, Deneen Brown. She wrote an article called Tulsa, The Fire and the Forgotten. And in that article, she was talking about the Tulsa riots and fires that happened in Oklahoma. But in that article, she said, stories have power, and if told, they can change the future. And I really latched on to that phrase. And that to me is really what we're about. And so there's really two groups of people who would access the website, Peek into the Past. One we call storytellers. Those would be what we've generally been talking about here, having done some research or have some interesting facet about their life or other person's life or something that wants to preserve it and wants to share it. And then the other aspect, the other group would be what we call visitors. These would be people who are in search of finding more information about an ancestor, or whether it's a researcher or a genealogist or some sort of formal book writer or something like that. And so we are connecting these two groups together. The first group will pass over time. They will, their lives will go on, but the stories that they have left with Peek in the Past are preserved. They are there on the internet, and they get to choose and designate whoever they want to continue to monitor or update the story if it needs to be updated. It may be a really static story that this is the beginning, this is the end, and there's nothing that needs to be added. But there is no obligation for a storyteller to be more involved than just writing the story and Peek in the Past publish it. No subscription is required, although we have a couple. I'll offer that information in a few minutes, but it's just that simple. We need to preserve these stories, and here's a place where you can use the tools we have, and through audio and video and pictures and writing, you can tell this story however you choose. And then these visitors, when they read your story, they have the benefit of having that aha moment that caused you to write this story to begin with. And they maybe will have some feedback that they want to share with you. And so there's an opportunity for these visitors to be in contact with these storytellers, but no emails, no contact information is exchanged between them. It's all monitored here at Peek in the Past. We relay the story on to the storyteller, and the storyteller is not obligated to be involved in this, but we encourage the storyteller to respond to the visitor, and we pass that response back to the visitor. And if the two in their communications decide they want to share email addresses, of course they can do that, but that's their choice. It never happens. If you want to not avoid having contact information, you can be assured Peek in the Past will not share that. So we publish these stories. Like I said, publishing is free. A subscription is only necessary to continually update the story. And if there is no subscription, the story does not disappear. It's out there, it's published. And so you can even have your subscription for, say, a month or two, and then say, oh, I don't want it anymore. And the story is still there. And like I mentioned earlier, of course, you can edit the story at any time. And we do have a story development team of researchers, writers, editors, and we're looking for more to add to that team. Many of you in the audience may be interested in participating in that way, is that offering your professional services to help others in crafting their own story. We'd be glad to make connections like that. And then also we ask the visitors, particularly the ones that have visited a memorial or a marker of some sort, that if they observe some sort of vandalism or problem with the marker, that they share that with the storyteller. So the storyteller can then see about taking care of that marker. So we call that a sort of our online caretaking feature that we have with that. And then we have one more really benefit of a storyteller is every storyteller can give however many gifts of subscriptions to anybody else, a 1-year subscription, and they can even give it to themselves to publish a new story. So like Bob, I can say, I'd like for you to join, look at Peek and Pass and see if you'll do this. Here's a subscription you can have for 1 year free. And when you publish your story, you'll get that 1 year free subscription. And then once you're a storyteller, you can do the same thing with all of your contacts. It's a real nice gift for people. Let me see. Oh, I know what I wanted to really say, Bob. We have on the homepage, there is a 5-minute short video of an introduction to Peek in the Past. It really concisely brings together what I'm trying to explain now. I would highly suggest that maybe you could show that to your guests at some point, or at least refer to it in the work. It's really a good recap of what we're talking about. And people ask, what makes us different from like Ancestry or Family Search or American Ancestors? Well, Peek in the Past is foremost about storytelling. And we blow past just being a digital archiving service. We, like I said, you can update and you can modify. It's not like an inscription on a marker. You can always change it and you can just expand on it and so forth. And I mentioned we can share the contact. We don't share contacts, but we share the communication. And no subscriptions required, but two are available. Each offer benefits to suit you. One is a low price of $24 a year. And then the $48 subscription locks in that $48 rate forever. And not just for you, but whoever is the subsequent storyteller picks up that rate. So if we ever change the second subscription rate to say $50, you still pay $48 forever. Okay. And you get an unlimited number of pictures and videos and other media to attach to the story. You can designate who's going to pick up after you're ready to let go of the storyteller responsibilities. And we had this neat, we call it augmented reality feature, where there is this ceramic QR code tile that you can attach to a marker of interest. And a visitor to that marker can scan that and it can pick up the story that you've just published on Peak of the Past. So while they're experiencing the cemetery and so forth, they can actually hear you or read the story or see the other ancestry pictures right there while they're experiencing their visit to the marker. It's a real personalization feature. There is one facet that is sometimes a little bit of a hurdle for people because we ask for a really heavily redacted copy of an official document that shows your name and your street address. What we seek to do is to deliver reliable information. We want to publish only trustworthy stories. And so we authenticate a person's identity, we authenticate their email address, and we authenticate their image. If they want to put it on a profile image, it has to look like the image on the official document, in some vague way. And this helps us certify that the work is their work. And we also ask them to tell us that any other work that's in that story that is not there, who wrote it. We try to disclose all copyright issues and disclose who the authors are. And that's and pictures of people appearing in the story. We want their names in the story. So this is just a step. It's not foolproof, yeah, admittedly, but we try to assure that there is authenticity about these stories.
Yeah, that's great. And so I do have one question. Can people make this almost like a living history of their family if they want, forget about just going back in generations, but going in the future?
I'm not sure I understand. It's very flexible, and so it can be modified at any time. Well, the modification requires that you have a subscription. So if you've decided to become inactive and not have a subscription, then you'll just have to activate the subscription again, and then go in and add the new information. Is that what you're asking about?
Kinda. I was thinking, like in the old days, people would, write everything in the Bible, right? Somebody had a baby, somebody had this, somebody,
Right.
somebody dies or whatever. So as long as they have a subscription, if you created a story that was the family genealogy, for example,
Right.
I could edit that and add people or say when people died or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And that would be the advantage of you indicating that you want, say, one of your children to take over after you pass, or maybe you're just tired of you want to do something else, and you just say, okay, will you pick this up now? And so then we honor your request there that we pass the storyteller responsibilities from you to this person, and they can then change and modify anything that they want. And until you give up that storyteller responsibility, you can change and modify anything you want.
We'll be right back.
Experience Italy like never before, traveling with a scheduled group or create your own bespoke tour with friends with philitaly.com. Pack your bags and follow Phil. That's www.philitaly.co. Great. And you do more than just have people type in. You also offer support teams for creating the stories or
Right.
narration or things like that. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. People are at different levels. Some people come with just, a real outline, and they really need genealogists involved, or, maybe they need some sort of historian, as opposed to others that may come with all of the research and they want to help with writing the story. Or maybe you've really written a story, but you say, oh, I'd like an editor to kind of polish this thing up, you know? And so there's these things that can happen, and it doesn't have to happen initially. You can go ahead and publish what you got. And then down the road, you can modify it once you want to make other changes to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So, for example, if let's take you for example, in your case, you have a history going back in this country 400 years. Um, you may not know every link, but if they come across a link that you didn't know, they would help you build that into the story. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great service. And I know a lot of people are shy about writing their stories.
Oh, of
When
course.
when I wrote my book, I was back and forth a million times. Should I say this? Should I say this? Should I format it this way? Should I talk more about the research than the family and things like that?
Mhm.
And it's no easy task to create a story.
Well, well, I'm glad you shared that. I think the hardest part is getting started. And I encourage people to um, try to set aside that fear for just enough time to just get started. Just, you know, submit a story. Let's get it out there. And then, you can continue to find how you feel about it. You can see how people are reacting to it. It's not locked in stone. It's not, you can even say in the story, these are my initial thoughts. I know that I've got to get it straightened out, but here I am.
And is there any limit to how long a story can be or what you could
No,
add to it?
no, no, no. It can be very short. It can be extreme. You can link to, say you have a genealogical tree in ancestry. You can link to that tree. And so, there'll be a place where you can just say, okay, here's more detail if you want it, but I'm not putting it in this story just because you don't need to know all that. But if you have more interest in it, you can go into that sort of thing, right?
And I think the real positive thing about it is because a lot of people ask me, how do I start genealogy, doing my genealogy? And I tell them, go ask grandma, go ask your oldest relative.
Uh,
And now I tell them, record them, put them on tape. And in fact, the uh is it Family Search, you could actually go into a family search. Some of the family search libraries have video capabilities where you could go in and record your story and with professional equipment, and they'll give you that tape or DVD tape, right? You know how old I am.
yeah.
uh, but I think this is a good way for people to put family stories out there and actually be able to see an ancestor 50 years from now, talk about when they came from wherever, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, those recordings can be part of the story. We can add videos, we can add audios, pictures. Pictures is another thing. You kind of sometimes always stumble on a new picture of interest, and you can come back and add in a picture and a description, and maybe that fits in better or something like that. Yeah.
That's really great. I especially like the thing where you could put that, marker in there where people, if they're go visit someplace, that they could actually read the story while they're there. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
really pretty cool.
it is really cool. Sometimes the only limitation you're out in a cemetery somewhere that doesn't have internet, and so they don't even maybe have electricity around there or something, I think. But that doesn't happen all that often. So
Not these days. I guess in some really out of the way places it could happen.
yeah.
But that's what I liked when I came across this. It's a very unique type of tool for people to kind of combine their stories with their research, pass it along to other people, and maybe find something out that they didn't know by searching, peek into the past.
Well, yes, and then share that wisdom, with other people, and it just brings people together. It just does. Yeah.
So anybody who wants to get started, how do they find you, or how do they find the website?
Well, again, it's called peekintothepast.com, and that's all one word. And from there are tools. Hopefully you'll find them easy to manipulate. As a visitor, you have a tab at the top where you can pursue questions that you have. Just follow that tab, and it'll be a tree where you can kind of identify what your question is, and we get you to the right person. If you have already published a story, there's another tab for you there. There's one and we call them storytellers. And you may have some administrative things that you want done, designating this future storyteller, or making a change, or change to your subscription, or a variety of things. There's a tab for that. And then on the home page, and then on a separate tab up there, is to explore and find stories of interest. And we're really looking for more stories to show up in there for that to be a really effective tool. But it's set up to, once we can really expand on our source of stories, it's easy to get there and see what might be of interest to you.
Yeah, and I'm working my way through my story. I got a little busy and put it aside, but I picked it back up again today. And it is really pretty easy to navigate. And like you said, you could put a lot of information in there, and you could put maps in there and all of that. So my goal is to get that done shortly.
Oh, well, good. I had thought maybe you were curious from the point of view just to see how it manipulates and so forth. Well, I'm glad you're pursuing that, and I'm eager to welcome you as a new storyteller soon.
Great, I appreciate it. Well, thanks, Jim. I really appreciate you taking the time today, and I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people get their stories out there.
Okay, thank you again. Peek of the Past, thanks you, and we hope to our paths cross soon. Okay.
Same here. Yep. Just hang on a second.